Well, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Rachel Criso, and I am the LS&A International Internship Liaison. It's a program that we run out of LS&A, but certainly the internships that we offer are not only for LS&A students, so be aware of that. I'm excited to see so many people here tonight, and there are some chairs up front. There's like 7 chairs up here. Come on down. I'm especially excited for you guys to come to this session because instead of hearing me and Peggy over here, although Peggy is going to talk too, tell you about the opportunities that we have available, you will hear about that, but what you're actually going to hear is from the students themselves that have already done this. And I think our big hope is that you will realize that this is an extremely doable and very, very worthwhile thing for you to do, and that is to intern abroad while you're still undergraduates. I hope you pick up some literature in the back. If you'd like to be on the LS&A International Internship mailing list, there's a website you can go to and you can sign up there to be on the mailing list. So we've got lots of panelists to speak, so we're going to get going. I'm going to introduce everybody one time around, and then they're just going to get up and speak afterwards. So first of all, we have Peggy Wunderwald-Jensen. Peggy is a lecturer in German, and she also works with Cultural Vistas, which is a company that helps place students in Germany, Spain, Argentina, and Chile. Everybody else is a student that's interned abroad, well, except for Kelly. Sorry. I'll introduce Kelly. Kelly Nelson works with Bill Knowlton here at the International Center, and she's the co-director of Michigan's International Internship and Service Learning Program, known as MIISP, which is run out of the Students' Union. I'm going to tell you about that. So to get to the students, we've got Rebekkah Munchow, who went to Germany last summer. Paul Sherman, who went to France. Over here we have Erik Wilder, who went to Morocco. Leah Hubinger, who went to the UK. We have, Paul Stromber, who went to Guatemala. And over there we have Enxhi Merpeza, who went to Argentina. So I'm going to let Peggy begin, and I'll start her slideshow.
Just wanted to say one word about Cultural Vistas. Cultural Vistas is based out of New York, has been doing international internship programs for over 30 years now, both on the inbound side, so Cultural Vistas helps students and young professionals from abroad to come to the United States, but also administers programs for Americans to go abroad. I work in the German department, so I want to focus on our summer internship program in Germany that we've been running in partnership with Cultural Vistas for over 10 years now. We have about 20 to 25 students in the program every year, and Cultural Vistas arranges individualized internships for them. Individualized means that yes, we have a group of U of M students in Germany every year, but everyone will do an individual internship and people are spread out in Germany. So it is a pretty individual program, as all of the internship programs are. It is a summer internship program, so you can go for either 2 months or 3 months, and you should be an enrolled student at a US university. So recent graduates, unfortunately, cannot be accepted in the program, and freshmen probably should also wait another year until they've finished their sophomore year to apply. The internships in Germany are either paid or unpaid. Typically, if you have a background in engineering or business and do an internship in the corporate world, you can expect to earn enough money to cover your living expenses in Germany. If you do an internship in non-profit, government, or even research internships, those tend to be unpaid, but I will quickly say a few words about funding also. So having an unpaid internship does not mean that you will be without money when abroad. For this particular program, you would have to speak German at the intermediate level, so German 232, which is our 4th semester German, would be the requirement. And as I said, we usually send a nice group from U of M to Germany, so we meet as a group before, we would send you to Germany, and you would also participate in an orientation in Germany. So there is a group component to the program as well. The application deadline will be in December, and as with most of the placement programs, there is a placement fee involved. In this case, it's $575, which is actually a reduced fee for U of M students. This just is a slide to give you an idea of where students did internships in the past 10 years. I don't want to go into detail about it, but you see there's something for everyone, no matter if you're an engineer, liberal arts students, if you want to do an internship in a museum or a hospital, with the government, with music festival. So, don't be afraid. As long as you speak German, come and talk to me. There's something for everyone. There are some difficulties in the medical field, but we've always managed to find a placement for you, for those students too. The perfect participant, and I think that doesn't only apply to this particular program, it's true for all internship or most internship programs. You should bring something to the table already when you apply, meaning ideally you have already declared your major or minor, know what you're studying. Also, ideally you have some prior work experience. That doesn't have to be an internship, it can be a summer job, it doesn't have to be paid. It can be a project that you've been involved with at the university. So just some practical experience in addition to your academic work is helpful for all internship programs. I mentioned the language requirements that we have, and of course, an open, friendly, curious personality. You should bring that to the table because you want to go there and learn, and you should have a sense of humor because when learning, you will make mistakes. You will learn from your mistakes, and you should also laugh about your mistakes. So that is something that we try to learn from you when we interview you. So there's an interview also involved in the application process and selection process. How to apply? The application will be online in October, as most of the Cultural Vistas internship applications. We expect you to submit a pretty broad written application because we really want to know who you are, what your expectations are, what you bring to the table. So the better we know that, the easier it will be for us to find a good internship for you. The placement process itself starts in late January, early February, so anytime between February and April next year you would know where you will do your internship. So that requires some patience, maybe for those who get a late placement, but usually everyone has an internship at the end of April in order to leave in June. I have a list of funding opportunities that are available to U of M students, and there might be more on campus that I'm not aware of or that are specifically for students with a specific background, but the Cultural Vistas Scholarship Fund is open to everyone who gets an unpaid internship through Cultural Vistas. It's scholarships that Cultural Vistas disperses, but they are not cost covering, but they are a couple $100s per month to help you to offset your housing and living expenses. The German department has funding for those who do an internship in Germany. There's also the College of Alice and A, the International Institute, that fund pretty much internship all over the world. The Center for European Studies funds internships in Europe. The College of Engineering has funding for engineering students. The Center for International Business Education funds internships for students at Ross School of Business. And there's also outside funding available through the German-American Chamber of Commerce. We also always want to encourage you, even if there's no official funding program, that you can apply for, ask in your school or college, because usually there's money hidden somewhere, and Rebekkah knows about it. She got a couple $100 or $1,000 in the last minute simply because she asked her chair, so I'm sure she will tell you a little bit more about it. And for the Germany program, you can also get credit for your internship by signing up for German 351 after you come back, and that will give you 3 academic credits. It's an independent study course that asks you to write a paper about your experience and give a presentation about it. I don't want to go into detail about these programs, but I just wanted to point it out to you again that the summer internship program in Germany is the only program that Culture Vistas runs in partnership with the University of Michigan, but Culture Vistas offers a variety of other programs with different structures, different lengths, also many of them being fellowship and scholarship programs, meaning that they are competitive and instead of paying a fee, you receive money. And I just wanted to point out 4 of those programs. The first one is a global internship program specifically for students with a technical background. And this one does not require German language skills, but it could get you to Germany. MGET German State Parliaments is a fellowship program that provides 2 to 3 month internships in German state parliaments for students with a background in international relations, political science, public policy, and those kinds of fields. WSIP is also a summer internship program in one of the German states. It focuses on students with a vocational background, so it might not apply so much to UVM students, but if you have friends at community colleges, that would be a relevant program for them. And the last program, the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Program, is a program that's pretty much open to every American under the age of 24 who would like to go to Germany for a full year. It's a fully funded program. You don't have to speak German. It's one of the, I would say, the Mercedes amongst the German-American exchange program. So if you would like to really immerse yourself into Germany for a full year and get money for it, you might want to consider the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Program. That's my contact information. I ran through it very quickly, but if you're interested in Germany in general, please make an appointment, come to my office, and we can speak a little bit more in detail about the options for you. Also wanted to just quickly mention that those of you who speak Spanish and would be interested in going to Spain, Argentina, or Chile, I would be happy to meet with you and talk to you about it. Those are also summer internship programs, very similar to the summer internship program in Germany, and both me and Rachel would be your main contact people on campus here.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebekkah Munchow. I'm a senior in civil engineering, and this summer I had an internship in Gießen, Germany. And since high school and I started taking German classes, I knew I wanted to do an internship there. So when I got to U of M, I started asking around, and through Peggy and other people, I was able to make this possible, and it was actually quite easy, and it's really not a headache at all. And yes, they're very helpful here, so I encourage you all. So yes, my internship was unpaid, even though I study engineering, and it was with the state government, Hessen, their nature protection department. So people may be studying natural resources. This could be something up your alley. With civil engineering, I deal with water resources, so it's very compatible. Here's some pictures of me at work. You can see I've dealt with water. So I had lots of really cool field trips with colleagues. Went out probably once or twice a week to different towns and traveled a lot. And my German improved greatly. My boss commented at the end about how great my German was compared to when I got there, so it must mean something. At the end of the internship, during my last month, they gave me my own project, and that's definitely something on my resume, and that's something that makes me very marketable. So whatever job you guys have in your internship, definitely put that on your resume, and it'll definitely set you above other people. So here's me having some fun. The bottom left picture is me with my roommates. I actually rented a room from a family, so they had 2 extra rooms, and I rented one of them, so it was a nice environment to be with a family. And that's us at an amusement park in Germany, which is very different than here. It's a lot smaller. But yeah, water ride was a lot of fun. They're actually from Iraq, so Germany is very diverse, so that surprised me. Yeah, so next, funding. I expected this internship to be paid, so when it was unpaid, I was kind of freaking out because I don't have a lot of money to spend on it. But I was very pleasantly surprised at the amount of funding that I received from Cultural Vistas, German department, College of Engineering, and even my own civil engineering department. If you just ask around, it's true, ask and it will be given. Like, I was very touched at how much money, and it paid for well over my costs. So I had money left over to go towards paying my college debt, but yeah, I was very happy with that. So I think that's about it. Please talk to me afterward if you have any questions, and yeah, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul Sherman. I'm a junior in studying public policy and French, and this summer, as Arvin said, I spent my time in France, in Paris, working for the American Embassy. And to start, I'll talk about how I got into it in the first place. It was with all government jobs, they have their own website, their own government website. It explains all jobs, internships, fellowships, the like, and that's how I found this. Pretty easy process online, found it, got lucky I guess, and in December I figured out that I was going to be going to France this summer, except there's one roadblock, which was getting the security clearance, which ended up taking 3 months, which I was lucky, because for most people it ends up taking 6, but that's the way that job works. But when I got to France, I was working in primarily public affairs, which is in American diplomacy, split up between cultural affairs and the press office, which is completely different than most other countries. And so primarily I was focusing in cultural affairs with sports diplomacy and higher education in France. But occasionally I work in press. I would be writing tweets for the ambassador's Twitter account, and occasionally a press release. But yeah, so primarily in cultural affairs, we were working with establishing a mutual understanding with the French public on American foreign policy, American society, etc. And we were yeah, so but we were out in the field a lot. We worked did a variety of events, including my very first week when we went to Roland Garros, the tennis tournament, one of the Grand Slams in tennis, and working with kids and trying to promote American culture, and that was a really amazing experience working with a lot of those kids and seeing what their views were of the States, which are completely different than what I thought before I got there. Even though I lived there for 3.5 years beforehand, and that was really rewarding. Along with later on, we worked on other projects, such as the Journée Patrimoine, which is more of an international a service day in France. So yeah, those were the main things I took out of that, and it was really easy just to meet up with all the other U of M students who were working in France and Paris, and that was really great. Michigan does a good job of allowing you to find other students and kind of set up trips to. And I believe they have that on the website as well. Like we can set up weekend trips. Yeah, I believe it's. And how I found my housing. I found it through a website. It's really and through friends of my parents. So that's how I found that. But it's still it's easy to find housing. Easier than you think at first. And also I forgot to mention my internship was unpaid, as all government job. Government. What do you expect? So yeah, I believe that's it for me. But I really enjoyed it. It was a great experience, and in the end, it helped me solidify my concentration in public policy, which is European affairs, So it was just a great overall experience.
Hey everyone. My name is Erik Wilder. I am currently a junior here at the university studying French. And over the summer, I was in Rabat, Morocco, doing an English teaching project. And so my project mostly consisted of working with generally preteens in a poor neighborhood of Rabat, which is the capital city there. And so we were teaching all of them English. We had some Moroccan volunteers we were working with, so it wasn't that hard to communicate with them. And it was a really great experience, but if teaching English is not something you're interested in, there are plenty of opportunities with Thaqafat, which is the organization. There's teaching about women's issues in an Arab country, which is interesting. I know there were some people working with getting youth involved in democracy in the country, and Meg, I think, was involved in a project for publicity for events for raising funding for children with cancer or something like that. So, like I said, if teaching English isn't something you're interested in, still consider Morocco. It's a lovely place. So, obviously, compared to like France and Germany, Morocco's a much poorer country. So, a lot of the opportunities that they have available there are in the service industry or volunteering. So, you won't just meet people from the university or even university students. A lot of the people there are just volunteers who are interested in making a difference or seeing the world. I know that there were a lot of Dutch volunteers there, so you can interact with people from all around the world. They all like to come there. It's a nice place to be. So working with energetic kids is really stressful, but it's definitely something that I thought was worth it. It was nice getting to share who I was as an American with them, and being immersed in their culture, not only at work, but at homestay. I was living with a Moroccan family. It's really an enriching experience, and I don't know if any of the other people did a homestay, but if there's a choice, I would definitely recommend it. It's nice to do. Let's see what else. I was actually really nervous about doing an international internship, as I'm sure plenty of you are, despite any interest you may have. I was actually talking to Rachel about it, and I was really considering just not doing it. It was terrifying. I'm also here to tell you, not just this information about my particular project, but that no matter where you go, especially with the university behind your back, you'll find something that you'll really like, and you'll be safe. You'll find something that you're comfortable with. And so when I went, at first I hated it, but after a little while, you really start to get used to it, and you start to love the place you're in. So definitely consider the internship. It'll change your life. It definitely did for me. And funding probably won't be too big of an issue, especially with Morocco. I mean, it's not a country where the cost of living is very high, but talking with Rachel especially, there were problems with the international internship scholarship I was trying to get going through, and with her behind my back, I got everything I needed, and it was all covered. So definitely consider an internship. Talk to me if you have any questions. Thank you for listening.
Hi everyone, my name is Leah Hubinger, and I was in Cardiff, Wales, working for Admiral Insurance. I'm a senior doing math and econ, so I was really excited to have an opportunity to do something that's relevant for my field. Now, we weren't actually doing insurance. Their insurance system is different than ours. What we were looking at was, staff satisfaction surveys. So, still got to flex a little bit of the stats and a little bit of the Microsoft Excel, which is always great. Doing math and econ, and I picked up math late. I hadn't planned on studying abroad. It's something that I really wanted to do when I came in, but it was something that junior year I didn't think I had time because of the classes that I had to take, and because of the math department and their transfer policy. So I was really excited when this opportunity came up because everything was taken care of. Like, I was really worried about finances because like when you go over the summer, like I couldn't do study abroad over the summer because you're paying for credit on top of your plane ticket and your living expenses and everything. So it's like that was out of the question. Where like this, my internship was paid. It actually turned out to be paid even more than they originally told us, which was awesome. And then they covered our housing, so we didn't even have to look. It was just like, this is what you're doing, and we were like, cool. So that was great too, and they made it so much easier to adjust. And also, they speak English, so that's extra nice perk. But it was difficult getting there. So this was the first year they ran that program, and it's hard to get a visa to the UK. They are stingy, and it was difficult. So like, I don't know if we just didn't know exactly if we'd need one or not, or what the rules were, but like, it took a while for us to, get our stuff together and figure out what we needed to do. And I mean, it was up to the very last minute that I got my visa. I actually got my visa on the day the plane left, which was, really scary, but I know it was so worth it. It was so worth it. And like now that won't happen anymore, I'm sure. Like now we know what we're doing, and that will never happen again. It was a struggle getting there. It was the best experience I've had at U of M. I got to do a lot of weekend trips, got to see a lot of things. Wales is a beautiful country. There's mountains, there's cities, there's cliffs, and I learned how to surf, and it was awesome. So, there's something for everyone, and it's a great opportunity. Go for it. All right.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Nelson. I'm an Education Abroad Advisor in the International Center. And before I give you a brief overview of the program that I co-direct, I wanted to point out just a couple of things. This is one of many International Career Pathways events that are taking place this fall, and hopefully when you came in you got the schedule. So we heard from Paul, who did the US Department of State internship. There's actually going to be an entire information session on that, facilitated by a diplomat in residence who actually works here at the University of Michigan for the year promoting opportunities with the State Department. So definitely try to go to that. And we've heard a lot from our panelists about funding and how there is a lot of funding out there at the university. There will actually be a panel on that too, funding for internships and research abroad. So those are just some of the upcoming events that I hope you will join us for. Okay, so on to, well first a couple of words about the office in which I work. It's the International Center's Education Abroad office, and we advise students on a full range of international internship opportunities. So first and foremost, we always inform everyone of U of M opportunities, such as the ones that we heard from Rachel Criso and Peggy Wunderwald-Jensen. But then we also advise on a full range of non-U of M programs. So if you can't find something through U of M, we're a good resource office to come to brainstorm other opportunities. We do run one program. It's called the Michigan International Internship and Service Program, otherwise known as MIISP, because it's quite a mouthful. MIISP is an intensive advising and preparatory program for undergraduate students who would like to do an internship or a service project abroad over the summer. So it's a 3-phase program. The program actually begins in October, and throughout the academic year, participants come to sessions during which we talk about everything from how to find an international internship to how to find funding. We talk about exploring one's own social identity and how that might impact your time abroad. We talk about challenges in the international workplace, goal setting, etc. So the first phase is meeting throughout the academic year to prepare. Then students go abroad, and they're doing all different things. It's not a group experience abroad. Students go abroad individually. They blog while they're abroad, and then when they come back, they rejoin again as a cohort and work on an M portfolio to reflect on what they went through abroad, how it impacted them, and also to kind of learn how to articulate what you actually got out of your experience. So when you're applying for grad school and when you have interviews and meeting with recruiters, you can actually tell them something meaningful that you got out of your experience instead of it was awesome. We actually have an info session about MIISP tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the Michigan Union Wolverine Room. So if you can come, please join us. If you can't come, we actually have a YouTube video of last year's info session on our website, and it's pretty much going to be the same thing. So if you can't come, please go ahead and watch the video. And the application deadline for MIISP is September 30th. So it's coming up, but it's a pretty simple application, so it should not be a problem to get it done in time. Now I'm going to turn the floor over to one of our past participants of MIISP, Paul Stromber, to talk a little bit more about his experience that he had abroad.
Hello. I'm Paul Stromber. I am a history major, and I'm getting certified in secondary education here as well. I'm a senior. This summer I went to Guatemala, and it was an independently organized internship. I was working for an independent, indigenous-run radio station in Guatemala. They deal with a lot of political issues. News about what's most affecting indigenous rights and things like that in Guatemala. So that was a really cool experience. A lot of my job was working with kids and working on historical preservation so that the history would be available for future generations, because they don't have the resources that we do to, we take for granted here that history is just in a museum, but there it's rotting away in somebody's basement. So, I organized this on my own, which sounds maybe difficult. It certainly did when I first started. It turned out to be much easier than I thought it would. Kelly and the other people at MIISP were super helpful in the advising process. They basically asked me my interests, and I told them that I was interested in radio and history, things like that. And they directed me to people that I could make connections with, who I could make connections with. There was like a long succession of people that I was meeting. Something that I recommend is, if you're going to do this independently, especially, is to start really soon. I didn't even start as soon as y'all are starting, so you already have a leg up, but it definitely is a challenge to communicate with people in a different country, especially if that country is like Guatemala, where you might be communicating with people who don't have reliable access to the internet or email. So definitely start right away. Funding was not difficult, like everybody else is saying. I applied for the Raoul Wallenberg grant here. I got $2,000 to go to Guatemala, and the living expenses there are pretty low. So I think I have like $60 still, and that paid for my flight there and back, and all my living expenses and everything that I wanted to do while abroad.
One more thing to say, sorry, before we move on to our last student presenter. Another reason why it's a really good thing to start looking into this stuff now, and the reason why we have this panel now instead of in the winter semester, is that a lot of the funding deadlines that we keep referencing are really early. So some funding deadlines fall as early as mid-February, and in order to prepare a competitive application, you actually have to already have your internship arranged. So that's why it's really great that you guys are all here and starting the process now, so then come February, if you want to apply for funding, you'll be all set. All right, here you go.
Hello, my name is Enxhi, and I'm a junior, and I have a dual concentration in Spanish and International Studies. So last year, when I was talking to one of my friends, they told me about GIU, and on a whim, I was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this application, why not? I want to go to a Spanish-speaking country. It's relevant, and I'm into international studies and human rights, all of that kind of stuff. And I applied for GIU, and it's like a general application. You don't apply for a specific place to go to, necessarily. And then once you get accepted into the program, you go in there and they have this informational meeting where they tell you about all of the different countries that you can possibly go to, and there's different professors that head those from the university. And after that informational meeting, you like sign little cards where like you tell them why you would be interested to go to that country. And each individual country has a different kind of work basis that you would be dealing with. For example, in Argentina, we were learning about human rights. We took classes in Spanish. That was one of the requirements, that we spoke Spanish, so we had individual interviews with Raquel, which was our professor, and to see like our Spanish levels. The thing was that a lot of us had different Spanish training, whether it was like 232 or 230, I think is the one before it. I'm not sure, 231. Or if it was like really proficient in Spanish. They were all variant levels of Spanish. So it wasn't like super, super hard to do. And after that, you get to pick like an order of which country you would like to go to. And if the professors pick you, then you get to go to that country that you wanted to, or you might get like your second choice on the list, let's say. But anyway, so we went with a group of 13 girls. It just so happened to be 13 girls, and it's not always like that. And in Argentina, we were each working with different NGO groups. Mine, for example, I was teaching kids in one of the poorer areas of Buenos Aires, around Buenos Aires. And it was in Barracas, and I was teaching them how to play guitar and about music, because I'm a musician as well. So with that, a lot of these kids, it's not like they ever had like a musical background or anything like that. So you're there to really just tell them that, to give them like an opportunity to see what other leeways there are in this world. So you're there to inspire them, and it's not always going to be like working with kids, but for us it definitely was in different organizations. And for me, it was such a collaboration of all the things that inspire me in the world, and it is very cliche, but it just changed my life completely to be able to go do something that I love, which is music, speaking in Spanish, one of my concentrations, and it's an international internship to put on my resume as well. And we learned about human rights, and I'm an international studies major. So I'm a comparative cultural major, and it was Latin America, which is my basis of culture. And overall, it was an incredible experience. I felt more happy when I came back to the States than when I left, for example. And just because sometimes we do get caught up in this like mundane, like going through college, I don't know what I want to do yet, oh no. But it's fine, like if you go study abroad, I promise you your perspective is going to change, and you're going to meet people and network like you never thought you would before. And the funding was really, really easy to find. You applied through Gieu. By the way, the deadline for Gieu I think is like mid-November, and you find out pretty quickly if you're accepted or not into the program. But overall, yeah, funding is really easy, so you don't have to worry about that. And it was just an amazing experience. Thank you.
I don't know if people know that GIEU is run out of the CGIS office. What does it stand for?
Center for Global and Intercultural Studies.
Yeah, Center for Intercultural and Global Studies. What amazing presentations. The thing that kept coming up to me was how it changed their lives, which is just an incredible thing if you think about it. You make a decision, you follow a few steps, you jump through a few hoops, all of a sudden you're somewhere else in the world and your life is going to change. So thank you for everybody who spoke. We've got some time for questions, so please just raise your hand and say who you'd like to speak to.
I have a question for Paul Sherman. Can you talk a little bit more about the difficulties associated with obtaining security clearance from our government?
Okay, so the question was for Paul, and it was about how hard was it for him to get security clearance?
Well, in terms of getting the security clearance, I mean, it really depends. As I said, it can take 3 months, it can take 6 months. For me, when I did it, I got lucky because it didn't. I think I sent my acceptance via email. I think in end of December, beginning of January, and I got it around the end of March. I do know some people who they got it and they didn't get theirs until July, and they had to cut their internship short because of that. So it's all on the government. It just takes a long time. It's a bureaucratic process. But in the end, I think it'll all work out. You'll find a way to make it work. It just depends on. I don't. Just tell me if I'm not answering the question sufficiently. But
So is there anything that you can do to like circumvent that? Like, can you apply a little bit earlier so you're guaranteed to get full experience?
well, I mean, so the application's due November 1st, I believe, and quite frankly, that's probably one of the most difficult parts of the process is getting the security clearance through. It is what it is, but yeah.
Yeah.
My question is probably for Leah, but anyone else is sure would be helpful. I'm basically looking at doing some kind of internship after graduation, so probably after the next winter semester, but definitely looking for something that's paid. And so I'm kind of wondering if, having graduated, if funding through the U of M is probably non-existent or very hard to get, and whether or not you said yours, maybe you said that you were paid, it was a paid internship. So I'm wondering if that was sufficient payment to pay for rent, groceries, things like that, to live off of.
She'll answer for you. Well, you can say if it was enough money to live on.
Yeah, I mean, they paid for my housing, so that was on top, we got paid on top of our housing being covered, and it was more than enough to live and travel on. But it's different for after you graduate, and I think getting visas to the UK is significantly different after you graduate too. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I'd say it's tricky. Most of the funding that's available throughout the university is for current students. So I don't know if you can add.
Well, I would agree about the funding through the university. It's almost all for returning students, but on the back of the agenda, we also listed some post-grad opportunities that have upcoming deadlines, and I think actually all of those offer funding. So they're like fellowship type opportunities. So, and like one of the most popular things for recent U of M grads to do abroad is teaching English abroad. Even if you're not planning on becoming an educator in the future, there are opportunities to teach English abroad, and almost all those positions are compensated for in some way, shape, or form. And my office advises on that. So if you're interested, you can certainly come and meet with us. And there's also an upcoming International Career Pathways discussion on teaching and volunteering abroad. So.
Great, yep.
I know this may be a bit of an extensive question, so you don't need to answer it in its entirety, but how many of these programs have GPA barriers? Certain GPA cutoffs. I'm pretty sure GIEU does, but how many of the other ones, university and non-university affiliated?
Okay, I can talk to my program. First of all, the LSNA International Internship Program, there's no GPA cutoff. So that's my answer. What about Cultural Vistas?
I just thought maybe the funding might have a GPA.
Yeah, different funding. I don't know. Is there a general GPA or is it different for each grant?
I think it's probably different for each grant. Some grants are just looking for people who are in good academic standing.
Yeah.
So I think it probably really varies.
I've never heard of anybody who didn't get a grant because of the GPA, but I don't know how low your GPA is.
And a lot of the funding opportunities on campus require that one write a personal statement, and the personal statement should talk about how the opportunity you're going to have abroad will fit in with your academics here at U of M and how it's going to impact you in the future. So if you produce a really strong personal statement, and if you have a great letter of recommendation, not just from a fancy professor who has an awesome title, that's not the important thing. You want to get a letter of recommendation from someone who can actually speak to your skills and have it be a personal letter of recommendation. I've read lots of letters of recommendation before, and sometimes it's so clear when the professor really doesn't even know the student. So yeah, those are, I guess, my 2 cents about funding.
I think that most entities are much more worried about how you're going to represent the university when you're abroad, more than anything else. So the letters are the biggest thing in your personal statement.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for anybody? No? Okay, well, I'm going to thank you all for coming tonight. It's great to see so many of you here, and go intern abroad.